Welcome to What's Going On, the weekly podcast and videocast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of What's Going On. I'm Pastor Katie here at First United Methodist in Yankton, South Dakota, and I'm glad you could join me for this episode. We're going to go back to the core of what this podcast is, which is to let you know what is going on in the life of the church, because we have a lot going on. If you were in worship with us this Wednesday night, you might have been overwhelmed by the amount of announcements that we have, because there's so many things happening as we gear up toward the end of the year. And so I want to talk about those things and those opportunities. And you will be hearing them again in worship on Sunday and as we go. And I hope that you are paying attention to the slides that we run before worship, that you are listening to the announcements, that you're taking them to heart and finding the ways that you can plug into the life of the church. The first thing that I want to lift up and give a moment to is our radio broadcast. You might not realize that we have a radio broadcast because we have a video broadcast. So we live stream our Sunday morning services, but what we also do is record our services, and then we edit them down to about a half an hour service that is broadcast on our local radio station, KYNT. We have people that tune in every week to that broadcast. Now it does run a week behind, so whatever I preach this past Sunday will be on the radio this Sunday. So I know that there are some people who will listen to last week's sermon before they come to church and hear this week's sermon. And I think that's a great practice, especially when we're in the midst of a sermon series, to kind of, what did she say last week? What was happening? But there are also people that is their primary way of connecting to our church. I've been really kind of amazed at how big of a reach our radio broadcast really has, and how many people I've met in various places who have said, I have heard you preach, Pastor Katie. I've never met you in person, but I've heard you on the radio. And so I think that's really pretty cool, but we are in need of people to sponsor that ministry and to help make that continue. It costs $45 a week for us to be able to broadcast that at our local radio station. And you can sponsor that on the radio. If you have sponsored that service, that broadcast, there is a little note at the beginning that says this radio broadcast is brought to us by so-and-so, and maybe in honor of something, in memory of someone. So it is a great way also, if you're looking for maybe a way to honor or gift someone something that maybe they don't already have, that might be a good option. Or to remember or honor someone, a loved one, that for them getting God's word out there was important. So please consider doing that. There's a sign-up sheet here at the church to do that, and you can pay the church at the church office. You talk to Lisa in the office and she'll get you set up with that. We also have coming back this summer our community garden. Last year, Marilyn Elwood, a member of our church, had a vision to have garden plots that were cared for by our church. And then we were able to give away produce that came from the garden, and we used some of that produce to make spaghetti sauce and to make salsa. I only laugh a little bit there because the salsa was so unexpectedly popular that when we sold it, and the money for the salsa that we sold that was made from the community garden went toward the Angel Fund at our local school district to help pay for school accounts that were behind, so that kids' lunches were paid for. That I didn't even get any because I was exit greeting, and by the time that I was done exit greeting, the salsa had completely sold out. And so we know that that you have loved what the community garden was able to produce last year. So we would love for you to be a part of caring for it and making that possible. And so they're going to be planting the garden, or at least part of the garden, on Monday night at 6 p.m. So you can just head out to the community gardens, and if you want to help with that. And then there will be sign-up sheets and it's like a week commitment where, like, that for that week, it's your job to water it, to weed it, whatever, and you can sign up for as many weeks as you like, or maybe 1 week for the summer. It's not a huge commitment, but we can then use that produce for missions, for being a blessing to our community, along with just the produce itself, that it can help feed and supplement people in our church and the needs that they have. So Church Garden is happening again this year. So thank you, Marilyn, for spearheading that. She's not a gardener by trade. That's not like one of her passions, but she is someone that just has incredible visions for things that we can do, and wants to make those things happen. So if you are a gardener, that is a great way to use one of your interests and gifts for the kingdom of God. Next, I want to talk about camp. There is an early bird registration deadline, and what that means is there's a discount on the cost of camp if you register by the early bird registration date, which is April 30th. So that's coming up here. Just a quick reminder that all students can go to camp for 50% of the cost. The church here pays 50% of your cost to go to camp. So you get to go to camp half price, unless you are a second or third grader. And this year, the church has committed to pay your way entirely. And we really believe strongly in camping ministry. We really believe strongly in what the experiences that students have at camp, and I am a product of camping ministry, that God really shows up in ways at camp that are hard to replicate anywhere else. And so we strongly believe that all students, all kids need to go to church camp, need to experience that. And so that is our commitment. If you're in second or third grade, get signed up for camp. If you have questions, contact Tiffany. There are a couple camps that we already have kids signed up for. We even have one that we already have transportation and adult chaperones in place to make it as easy as possible for you to get your children to camp. Not to say that you have to use those. There's different options. And again, if your student is in second or third grade, if they're not, they still get 50% off the price of camp. And if 50% of the cost is still more than what you can handle, what your budget really can allow for, let us know. There are other scholarships that we can help you apply for, that we can again, we never want money to be a reason that someone doesn't go to camp. We will find a way to get you there. One way would be to attend our Mission Possible up at Lake Ponce Camp. Mission Possible is a Friday, Saturday, so just overnight, one night. Our youth group has been going the past couple of years, but it's really not for youth groups, it's for anybody. And so we'd really love to have some other people in our church go up. And what you're doing is work to help prepare the physical camp for the camping season. So there's a lot of different kinds of jobs, and really open to all ages. I think it's $35 to go and to do that kind of work, and you get to stay at the camp, you get to have some fun as well. Our youth love it, and think about it for a moment. If our teenagers love it, and if you have a teenager, you know they don't love a lot of things. But if they love going, if they've made that a commitment, then you know that it's probably going to be pretty great. So you can get signed up for that. It's the same place that you sign up for church camps. Again, if you really want to go, the cost is an issue, come talk to us. We can figure something out. If it is not possible for you to go up to Lake Ponce for Mission Possible, like maybe you got something going on Saturday, consider helping out with our rummage sale. So we are doing a rummage sale here at the church, and the proceeds of that rummage sale are going to be going to camp scholarships and to children and youth activities. And so so that's going to be running May 5th and 6th, the same days. It's Friday, Saturday, and it's the same time as I think the citywide rummage sales. We will be taking in items starting Thursday, April 27th. So that would be next week already. No clothing. So we're looking at household items, we're looking at toys, we're looking at still quite a bit of options for things. We're just asking no clothes for that one. So you can drop off starting next Thursday. We need volunteers on the 4th to help with setup, and then the 5th and 6th to help with running the rummage sale, and there's sign up sheet for that as well, and the shifts can be as little as an hour. Maybe if you can commit a little bit more, that would be great, especially if you're someone who has children or grandchildren in our youth programming, or if you just really believe that children are important to our church, then let's support that through helping with this. And so, if you need items picked up that you can't get to the church, call the church office and we can get that arranged. We have a Bucket Sunday coming up, April 26th and 30th. So 26th is Wednesday. Our Bucket Sundays are mission offerings, and our mission offering this time is going to the Gathering Grounds. And you've not heard about this, or maybe you've heard of Gathering Grounds, but not the new kind of thing that they've been taking on. So the Gathering Grounds is a coffee shop downtown here in Yankton that is housed in the Discovery Church building. Discovery Church, I think, kind of initiated this ministry where people can go and can get free coffee. It's not like fancy coffees, but it's free. So that's pretty great. And so that's been going on for quite a while, and they were only open certain days because it's all volunteer based, all volunteer run. This winter, the city approached the Ministerial Association here in Yankton, that's the pastors in Yankton, because there was a need. There is a decent homeless population in Yankton, and our homeless shelter Pathways, as great as they are, one of the things that they are lacking in their space is space for people to be during the day, especially since they opened their night-by-night rooms downstairs in their basement. People aren't allowed to be in there during the days, and so they have to go somewhere. And sometimes, they're off, looking for work, looking for, whatever the things are that they need to be doing to get where they need to go. But sometimes they just don't have anywhere to be, and especially in the winter when it's cold, it's, not great to just be out walking around. And so one of the places they were going was the library, which is open to everybody, but the library wasn't really equipped to handle all of that. And so they reached out to the city to say, is there something we can do? Can we have a more intentional space? And so the city reached out to the churches to see if there was something that the churches could do. And Discovery Church said, we have this Gathering Grounds. They would be welcome there, but we're only open so many days a week because of what we have for volunteers, and this is really what we can afford to be open. And so they said, yeah, we'll make that space available, and you can definitely tell those who are in need of space that that's a place that they can go and be safe and be warm and have free coffee. But Discovery Church also said, for us to be able to expand it, we really need support. And so this is, for us to take a bucket offering for this means that we are going to help support the cost of having additional days open with just electricity, but also like resources in the coffee and cleaning and that kind of thing. If you're interested in being a part of that ministry, they are still looking for volunteers, I believe, and you would sign up for shifts. And I think it's been going really well. We're really grateful to Discovery Church, who kind of had that already in place and just needed to expand it rather than for someone else to have to really ramp something up from scratch. So that's what that's going to be, April 26th and 30th. On May 7th, we will be recognizing our graduating seniors. And so you're going to want to be here for that. On May 8th, the next day, that's a Monday evening, we have our next town hall meeting scheduled. We did a town hall meeting at the end of January. We're going to do one on May 8th at 6:30. In that town hall meeting, we will take a second poll just to, we want to give the option that if you missed the one in January, if you were unable to participate in the online version of it, that you can take a poll, and the poll is again to just kind of get a pulse on where the church is on the topic of homosexuality and inclusion of homosexuality. Can I be a part of a church where people affirm homosexuality? Is that where I am? Is that a kind of a deal breaker for me? Or is it a deal breaker for me if there are people in the church who don't accept it? So we'll talk more about it, but you're going to want to be there. We're also going to be talking about worship, and I'm soliciting feedback on worship scheduling as we look. For the summer, we're going to go down to just Sunday worship at 10 o'clock, and that's going to start Memorial Day weekend, I believe. And then we'll run that for the summer, and then looking in the fall, going back to 2 services, what does that look like? You know, we are open to hearing your thoughts, your ideas, your you know, we are kind of in an attitude of we are trying things, and sometimes the things we try are great, sometimes maybe there's room for improvement. We don't presume to think that we have everything figured out and that this is the perfect way to do everything. And sometimes the more people that we can bounce ideas off of, maybe we come up with something even greater. And so come to that town hall meeting. We're going to be having ice cream. So, I mean, if nothing else, come for the ice cream. That's going to kick off our volunteer recognition week here in the church. So if you have volunteered in any way, we want to honor you. And so we're going to be having the ice cream social with our town hall meeting. And then we're going to recognize volunteers in worship on Wednesday the 10th and on Sunday the 14th. So we do want you to be a part of one of those or both of those worship services so that you can be honored and recognized. We understand that that's not why you serve, but also we are grateful. And so make sure you're here for that. We do have loads of love. And I said that we have a lot going on. I meant it. We have loads of love in May on the 16th and the 30th. Please sign up for that. We've kind of been relying on a small number of volunteers that have been very faithful, but this is a congregational mission. This is all of us that need to come together and support Loads of Love. So you can support it in a couple of ways. One, donate, because they run through hundreds of dollars every night that we do this. The need is great here in Yankton. Or two, come and serve one of the shifts. And we actually are finding we need more people than what we are asking for. So even if that slot is full on the sign-up sheet, but that is the date that you can come, because they will welcome the help. And that might be the best way to start. If you've never done it before, come on a night where there's other volunteers that are veteran volunteers, and they can kind of show you the ropes. And the more people that are there, the easier it will be for them to do that. So that's the 16th and the 30th. We are also doing the banquet this month in May. That'll be May 25th. There are sign-up sheets already out in the lounge for you to donate items for the banquet. And also we need volunteers, again, to serve. The last time we served the banquet in December, we were actually pretty low on volunteers. And so I know that that's kind of bumping up into Memorial Day weekend, but it is before that. And so please consider just giving a couple hours of your time to spread the love of Christ. It's one of my favorite things that we do. I really enjoy every time we're there. Also, we are going to be recruiting and are currently recruiting children and youth volunteers for the 2023-2024 school year. We are a church that says that we value and love our children and youth. And every time we have a baptism, which we have 2 more coming up in May, we promise to help raise those kids in the faith. And part of the way that we do that is through offering children and youth programming in the church. But we can't offer that if we don't have volunteers that are helping to lead it. For some of you might say, I did my time, but you have experience and you have something to give, and you can support our young parents who are feeling overwhelmed by the demands on their time, by investing in their children. If you're a young parent, really committing to say, in 20, 30 years, all these activities that my kids do, what is going to still be with them? And who do I want my children to be? Do I want my children to be, first and foremost, the best soccer player in the world? Or do I want my children to be the kindest person of character and integrity, who shows love and compassion to those around them? Because that's the kinds of things that they're being taught here, is how to love our neighbor, how to move through life as a person of faith, having hope and having vision for a future where people have love and respect for each other. That's what we are building toward when we have our children and youth here at the church and doing discipleship. But it takes your support to make that happen. And so I want you to look at your calendar. Because if you are a member of our church, part of the thing that you have promised, that you have vowed actually, is to be a part of the service of our church and to be a part of the doing of the kingdom of God. And so I want you for a moment to think about, can I offer 1 hour a week to the church, to God's kingdom? Beyond worship. Now, for some of you, you could, that hour a week of service could coincide with your hour of worship. If that hour a week is, I'm going to every week commit to ushering or commit to greeting, then your time of service coincides with your worship time, right? But if every member of our church that is active in coming to worship also committed an hour of their time in service, we could do so much for the kingdom. Our ministry needs you to be a part of it. If you're a member of the church, that was part of your vows, was to help serve the church. That your gifts would help from the church, that you would pray for the church, that you would serve the church, and you would be a witness for our church. So that's what we're asking for. When we have opportunities to sign up and serve, especially for our children and youth, because we have made those promises to them, and I do believe that we are people who intend to keep those promises. So let's not wait for someone else to sign up. Let's not wait for someone else who maybe has more time or more aptitude or more energy or more excitement. If we are part of this church, God is calling us to be a part of what is happening in this church, and discipleship is a big part of what's happening in this church. And there's going to be other opportunities coming for you to be a part of the mission and ministry of this church. And if you are a member, that is an expectation because you vowed to do that. You vowed to be a part of it. That's part of our Christian faith. And so please look at your calendars. Consider, maybe it's not an hour a week, but maybe it's a couple hours a month. What can you offer a couple hours a month for the life of the kingdom of God? So with that, I've worn myself out talking about all of the things that we're doing in the life of the church. I hope you're worn out in hearing it, but also I hope you're excited because it means that God is at work and that mission and ministry are happening and that things are moving, and we want you to be a part of it because you're an important part of our church. And so until next time, if you have any questions, let me know, let Tiffany know. But until next time, God bless, and I hope to see you real soon. Thank you for joining us for this episode of What's Going On, a podcast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. We'd love to have you join us for worship on Wednesday nights at 6:15 or Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. You can also worship with us online at firstumcyankton.org or find us on YouTube.